Back to the basics. Back to the basics is going to be clearly a red pill, obviously a red pill type podcast. But I'm going to have Kevin, my guy Kevin Savo, is going to be joining me for these every Saturday at 3:00 p.m. So Kevin, do me a favor, and because you are the one who actually came up with the idea. I knew that you and I had to do a weekly show together because I think more people need to hear what you have to say. But give my audience sort of a Reader's Digest version on why you decide on why Back to the Basics is the premise of this particular collaboration.
Well, hey guys, anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Kevin Savo from Red Pill Lions. That's a YouTube channel. I'm a filmmaker, musician, podcaster, and what got me pulled into the red pill was direct game. And that's what had me coming up with the concept of doing a Back to the Basics series with you, because I enjoy the entertainment and the, let's say, like, assessment of female nature that the red pill turned into. But what really got me started on red pill material was direct game and
go down a couple more notches. Go down just a couple more notches on your volume.
Oh, my apologies.
No, that's all right. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but okay, here we go. How's that? That works?
There we go. Yep, that works.
Okay. What initially got me into red pill was direct game, channels that gave guys direct game and direct questions to the answers, direct answers to the questions that they had about female nature, about how to improve themselves, about how to get on with women, how to get on with dating, how to get on with socializing. And it was so similar to advice that you would get from like motivational speakers, but it had that red pill edge. And it was similar to the advice that you would get from dating coaches, but it had that red pill edge. And it was really eye-opening stuff. So I tend to wonder if that kind of content gets lost in the algorithm these days because of lack of entertainment value that may come along with it. So I don't know how many people that come into the red pill these days are finding the kind of information that I found upfront in an available way where they can get direct questions answered that they've had about female nature, about how they can up their game with women, or how they can up their status, or how they can up their productivity when they come across things like Fresh and Fit, or when they come across the pan shows. They're all fantastic, but you kind of have to look for the lessons in between the conversation and in between the entertainment. And some may wonder who's just watching it for entertainment and not necessarily having the insight to get the lessons from it. Is my level still killing you?
No. I'm actually, so I knocked something over, but no, you're fine. You're fine. I think we're both right. I think we're both right around the same. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I think, and you and I have had these conversations off the air. We have these conversations off the air often. And one thing that you and I, that we agree on all the time is that there is I think the only guy who really does like not really old school, but just like straight up approaching women, how to deal with women, et cetera. I think really the only guy doing that now is AMS. Am I wrong?
Yeah, AMS is what got me into the red pill, and then I got into Rolo by discovering that there's a lot of themes from Rolo's material that worked its way into what AMS talks about. And yeah, AMS is one of probably, actually, yes, the only super popular guy who bases all his material around answers almost to direct questions. I mean, right. I think the basis of every one of his videos is answering a Patreon member's question. And so when you come into the red pill that way, you're cycling through all the questions you've always had, because it tends to be the same questions that all the subscribers or all the Patreon members had, and that becomes the basis of the videos. So it's totally different than cycling through more what is today now mainstream red pill material, because any question you had, if you're not writing it and asking it yourself, it's likely that another follower already wrote it and asked it. So you could just go through AMS videos and just go through everything that you wanted to know, and it's more than likely been answered to benefit you directly. And I'm just hoping that content like that, aside from a channel that's as popular and has been around long enough, like AMS, if you're not in AMS, I would still hope that material like that doesn't get completely buried in the algorithm, because it's not entertaining. That Fresh and Fit is wildly entertaining. Kevin Samuels was wildly entertaining.
Of course.
And just Pearly Things is entertaining. There's controversy. It mimics reality television. And so I wonder the guys that are still giving up good direct game to answer much needed questions by guys that really want to be able to level up isn't completely buried in the algorithm because people are clicking off to find a dude just directly talking to the camera, answering things that you really need to know, especially if he has the game and the insight to actually tell you properly.
Very
But
good.
that's not like explosive entertainment. So I would hope that it's not completely getting lost in the algorithm.
No, I totally get it, man. And so today we are going to talk about limiting. I don't know how to characterize this, but there's a lot of confusion when guys first when guys first find the red pill, right? You know, most of us go through about the same stages, right? First, there is euphoria because we can't believe that this stuff actually exists on the internet. Then we go through sort of a process of, dare I say, gluttony. We're watching and reading every bit of red pill content that our eyes can handle. Dude, we're consuming it all the time. Then comes a little bit of red pill rage. Now, I was fortunate enough, Kevin, not to have the red pill rage. And I think the reason why, and I think that I don't think you had red pill rage either, because I think you and I are of the same mind that, you know what, now that I've found this community, now I know I'm not crazy. There was always an inkling in my mind that what these red pill guys talk about, you know, are facts, are the truth, but I never really got verification. But most guys do go through an anger phase, and there is a good portion of guys who not only go through the anger phase, they stay in the anger phase. Those guys end up becoming, you know, the bottom level MGTOW guys, or even, or dare I say, black pill guys. But absent those guys, you and I don't think we actually got. I don't think we went through a red pill rage phase. That being said, we fast forward to today. There is all sorts of red pill content. And just like you said, what gets lost in the algorithm, lost in the minutia, are the basics. So the conversation that you and I had today with regards to misperceptions about the red pill is guys going after certain women. Guys come here to the red pill because they get they've been rejected. It's either heartbreak, sexual frustration, probably a combination of both. And so they turn on guys like me. They turn on guys like Fresh and Fit. And I actually call this the Fresh and Fit effect. A lot of guys who watch Fresh and Fit, they believe that, oh my God, in order to get women, I've got to be like Fresh. I gotta level all the way up. I gotta drive a Lambo. I gotta be a millionaire. I gotta own businesses. And that's just not the case. You said it before. Average guys are just looking for average women, but we also know that average women want above average guys. So we need to. Yeah. So what we hope to do is we hope to close that gap and let guys know, hey, look, you're just because you're not a Donovan Sharpe or a Myron Gaines or a Fresh Prince CEO or a Kevin Samuels does not mean that you cannot be successful with women. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the question that I wanted to pose to you to see what your insight was is, what do you tell the average viewer who is still somewhere in the middle economically, who is still really trying to chase down like the baddest hood chicks, and hood not meaning black, just meaning that, like it is described, just never left the neighborhood, chicks that are still out at the club 3 nights a week, and these women would really prefer to have a gangbanger or a dude for baby mamas who can't even pay child support, who's still bouncing around between jobs. And then guys come in and find the red pill channels, and now they're looking at material that's telling them you got to become a 6-figure man and you have to run a business. And it's like a different kind of alpha. It's like a different kind of alpha. Whereas what the women I was just describing are chasing is it's almost like more of a primitive alpha, but in a weird way, it still has alpha energy. Like the dude without money, the dude without responsibilities, the dude who just doesn't give a fuck, because in a way that lack of giving a fuck is still giving off the alpha energy that's pulling them in. And the fact that they're not high class women themselves, they're still kind of drawn to it. But where do you find the means in the middle? I guess mostly what we would actually say traditionally is forget about those women. I mean, you don't want women like that in the first place. But the funny thing is there's guys that are finding red pill channels because they were never able to get the baddest hood chick in the neighborhood. And the funny thing about it is you level up, you start a small business, you increase your money, you increase your finances, you increase your game, you increase your body. And she would still rather have a dude that's bouncing around between jobs and has 3 baby mamas with kids that he could barely afford. And it's like, great, you enhanced everything about yourself. You're really productive. You're really on your grind. It seems like you're making yourself more attractive to women, but you don't have a gun.
Sure.
It's like this funny middle grounds. So I mean, what do you?
Before I answer that, let me ask you a question. So, and again, when Kevin says hood chicks, you know what? Let's call them neighborhood girls, right? Most men.
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
Okay, of course, right. I think there was a study done, and I don't know how accurate this percentage is, but just based on my own experience, I'd say it's true. Most people end up, I think, 40 miles or less when they're adults, when they grow up and they have jobs and families and kids or whatever they're doing. Most of the time they are within 40 miles of where they grew up, right? I'm one of the, and listen, I think it was like 60% of people live within 40 miles of where they grew up. And so when I'm talking to a guy like you, you've obviously had success with women. You've had success with women in your neighborhood where you grew up. So before I answer the question, why is it that you have been able to, smash all the chicks where you live? What's the difference between you and somebody else?
I think you reach a point of personal productivity where you become an embodiment of your mission in life. And women start to gravitate to the fact that you are constantly pursuing a mission. And I said that on a podcast recently where I think I'm starting to realize now a man is really either just an embodiment of the mission he's on or an embodiment of the mission that he doesn't have.
Woo, wow.
And when you get to that point, there's still so much more to strive for. So in order to be a dude that constantly has access to 9s and 10s, you still have a long way to go.
Sure.
When you get to where I'm at, because I'm humbly right in the middle. When you get to where I'm at, you have an occasional 9 and 10 here and there, and because of the way you've leveled yourself up, you're able to dip out of your economic bracket from time to time.
Sure.
Girls that have more money or came from more money, that are what I call money pretty. You know what I mean? Because they have the money to actually physically alter themselves.
Right.
And basically you reach a point of status as a man where you don't have to worry about sex anymore, and at the very least, 7s and 7.5s are like always available to you.
Right.
So there's that. But I mean, you still of course want to always strive to be like actually in a place where you're like a Jay Waller, where it's like,
of course, wouldn't we all?
You could have your steady picks of the 9s and 10s. But I think what made me think of the topic is just being in a weird little world between the two where I grew up. It's like I grew up on the edge of a very rich, like, white town, and I was on the outskirts. That isn't exactly the hood, but it's like where the poor whites live.
Yeah, right.
And so it's almost like your little sexual market there is like a mix between, almost like a mix between like middle class, rich, and then complete trash.
Right.
But those hood chicks or neighborhood chicks, some of them were bad enough that you're still, as a dude, not necessarily saying like, well, I'm above them. You're like, no,
sure.
I mean, they're bad. I want to see what's going on.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And and so you do end up right in the middle between. What made me think of the topic is you wind up being right in the middle between, I can't impress this girl because I have a boat, but I can't impress this girl because I don't have a gun.
Oh, wow.
And that's what made me think of the topic, is I think there's a lot of young dudes that are probably younger than me that are confused in the middle there between like, so what do I have to do? Do I have to be a high earner or do I have to be a gangbanger? Like, what the hell is going on?
That's a good question.
You know what I mean? And we're constantly, if you go to a lot of red pill meme pages or a lot of red pill Instagrams, right?
Right.
There's dual criticism of female nature. That's just as I'm describing it. We're either always looking at memes or posts where we're making fun of the girl that you can't impress unless you have a boat, or you can't impress unless you're a loser.
Right.
So we joke about the girls that you can't get unless she can pull your resources because you have more money than her.
Sure.
Or we're talking about the girl that doesn't even pay you any mind because you don't have 4 baby mamas and you're not backed up on bills and you're not running the streets. And we joke about how oftentimes a girl would rather have someone like that. And it's a funny thing because you can oftentimes really, really level up. And a lot of these dudes are really hoping to be able to level up to get that girl from the neighborhood that they weren't able to get when they weren't on their purpose. And then they get on their purpose just to realize that those women are still chasing men that couldn't be more off their purpose.
Right.
Don't even have a purpose.
Right.
But it is weird because it all relates to female nature in a way. We could talk about what an alpha is to somebody who's lower class, middle class,
right,
and what an alpha is to a girl that grew up with money. And then, of course, there's girls that didn't come from money that still desire to get a man's resources, so they still want to try to go after a dude that's on the opposite end of the spectrum. But it's a weird thing because there's a little, it all relates to female nature. What is an alpha to each kind of chick? And not that all those girls are terribly different, but that like the personalities molded by their environment, how that made them different.
Right.
And then how their environment makes each of those alphas kind of a little bit more personalized to them.
Okay.
But I think it definitely made me realize that I'm not usually a one size fits all kind of guy.
Okay.
I don't like it when girls break up. I don't like it when girls break up an argument by saying like, well, all women are different. I'm like, well, all female nature is different.
Yes.
However, like I am starting to consider a little bit more how environments affect a woman's perception a little bit more, because if you're a chick from the streets, there's nothing more alpha than a dude that with a piece, carries a gun and gets in fights often.
Yeah.
And has gotten charges and has been to jail. And in the weirdest way, you'd like to say, well, I mean, fuck all that. So that means she wants a loser. But at the end of the day, it's weird. You could say that's a man you wouldn't aspire to be. But in the same way, you can't say that that's not an alpha. That's the thing. It's like he may not be an economic alpha.
Right.
But he's, but the I don't give a fuck. The I don't care who I have to hit. I don't care who I have to rob. I don't care. I'm on my hustle. It's still like, it still gives the same kind of energy to a chick who was molded in that environment. And so I'm just simply, I know I'm going all over the place.
No, this is good.
I simply wonder how many guys finding the red pill are kind of caught in between those worlds, and which viewer is coming from which environment and which kind of chick they're chasing.
Now let me ask you this question, because dude, I've already got everything in my head and I'm ready to fire away. But I want to ask you a question. When you say get the neighborhood chick, are we just talking about smashing her? Or are we talking about maybe having some semblance of a relationship with her? Because there's no relationship if you don't smash her. But by the same token, if you're about your shit and you level yourself up and you start your business, whatever the case may be, you get a promotion at your job, you get into better shape, and the girls who used to give you the side eye before are now hitting you up with the hey big head, hey, how are you doing, where have you been, blah 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 blah, let's catch up. At that point, you know better than to get into a relationship with those women. You want to smash these girls and pass these girls. You do not want to get into a relationship. So I'm assuming you're talking about just smashing, because if you're going to look for a woman for a longer term relationship, especially for young guys, my advice is always you should never ever be thinking about a long-term relationship until you are at least 35 years old and have smashed at least 35 women. And so that's answer number that right there. I just wanted to make sure it set those parameters. So for the guys that are in the middle, they're not the rich guy, but they're not the thug, but they're decent quality human beings. What do we do? The first answer to that question is number one, I don't care how high a quality you think a woman from your neighborhood is, don't get into relationships with those women. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everybody's business. You probably know of a couple of guys who smashed her. That's going to give you kind of a complex. If you start caring about women like this, eventually it is going to be a problem. So just easier said than done. Put it out of your mind. Even if it's a girl you've had a crush on since you were in the 5th grade, you're going to have to understand she probably belongs to the streets, right? But by the same token, you also have to understand as a man, you got to get your dick wet. Yeah, you can take vacations and smash girls here or there, but you need to have a steady rotation of between 2 and 3 girls. And by the way, Kevin, I know you can probably speak to this. Every guy, there's so many guys who come to the red pill and they say, I want a rotation of 10 girls. Like I said it myself. I was like, dude, I'm going to smash 10 girls a month. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Then I actually started doing it. And smashing two girls at the same time on rotation, especially if you are about your shit, is extremely difficult. You can't, like a guy like, I can't even imagine. The only reason why I was able to have a rotation in Vegas for as long as I did is because my money was on autopilot. But I can't do that anymore. Yeah. The business I have now requires me to be on site and be hands-on with my day-to-day operations. I'm the face of my business.
Yeah.
Devin she's the lifeblood in the background. That's just kind of how it goes. And so the answer to your first question, what do we say to the guys in between? Number one, don't think about relationships. Just smash these girls. Now, let me ask you a question. So you grew up on the outskirts of the rich neighborhood. You weren't in the hood, but you were, you were raised around other, you guys didn't have much coming up. One thing that I can tell, and I can already tell you this. How tall are you?
5'6".
You are 5'6". You are as tall as my girlfriend. The average dude who comes to the red pill, they think to themselves, dude, I'm 5'6". Donovan Sharpe is 6'2". Of course he gets bitches. Myron Gaines is 6'4". Fresh Prince CEO drives 5 Lambos or whatever the number is now. Justin Waller is 6'4". He looks great and he's rich. I mean, Andrew Tate. I mean, all of the. Just slow down. The first way, Kevin, the difference between you at 5'6", there are 2 main differences between you and the average red pill guy. There are 2 main differences. Number one, you are about your shit. You're a fucking movie. Dude, you make movies, you make music videos. So number one is you have a genuine purpose. Number 2, Kevin, you're in great shape. I say this all the time. The quickest way to increase your sexual market value is get your ass into shape. Kevin, you are great with women. And people can use whatever excuse they want. Well, the only reason why he's great with women is because he makes movies. Well, making movies isn't easy, right? And the reason why you've had success with women is because you've been about your shit, right? But again, the second reason is because you are in phenomenal shape. Talk to my in-betweeners. Talk to my guys, because I remember I watched one of your videos when you were down in North Carolina. You talked about the fact that when you were right in the middle of filming the opener, you had a chance to like bang this hottie, and you really wanted her to do it. But because you knew you had to be up early in the morning, or you had to be somewhere, you knew you just didn't have the time to smash her and be able to give it your best shot. So talk to my guys about the importance of being in shape and having a true purpose and the effect that has on women.
The main effect that I've noticed is it's funny. I set these kind of parameters for the conversation of the kind of women that you're dealing with, like what economic status they come from, what neighborhood they come from, right. Therefore what frame of mind do they come from.
Right.
We could kind of basically set it into 3. It's like you know lower echelon right in the middle, or higher class looking for a more higher class guy right off the bat. But when you're somewhere in the middle of all of it, which is so oddly where the Sabo brothers are right now. It's like we have like 1 foot in the world of film and television, but 1 foot still in the old neighborhood. Right. And on one hand, people watch us, but on another hand, we're still in our hometown. It's a weird thing, but the productivity is there. And when the productivity is there, like I was saying, you become like the embodiment of a mission. And the first thing that I've noticed is basically, which says 2 things, but the first thing that I noticed is that a lot of girls that are right in the middle as well become infatuated with you because you're likely the first dude that they dated that's about anything.
There you go.
Now, the funny thing about this is it says 2 things. First, it says you'll basically from that point on, when you become really locked in and dedicated to your purpose, not instantly gain 24 access to 9s and 10s, but 9s and 10s come and go here and there. Sure. But you will forever have like a steady option of 7s and 8s. They just don't go anywhere after a certain point. And a lot of those girls are caught in the middle between 2, where they've like flirted a little bit here and there with men of status, but are still really attracted to douchebags. Most of their relationships have been with dudes that aren't about it at all. And a good amount of women I've been with have told me like they're just fascinated by everything that I've got going on. And they talk about their exes as most women do. They shit on their exes. And to me, because I'm so hard on myself, I don't pat myself on the back for everything. What that is, I'm like, so I'm the first dude that's about anything. That's right. That you've come across. So of course you're going to be enthralled with it. But that's also just a reflection of your past decision making. So yes, I'm kind of great, but at the same time, every man you've ever been with due to your poor decision making is kind of not. So it's one of those things that kind of reminds you it's nice to be able to retain for steady sex. But like you said about not being eager to hop in relationships, I look at what that says, and it says that, yeah, what I got going on is great, but at the same time, in your mind, I'm almost like the smartest dumb guy because you've never come across any dude that's about anything,
Right.
because every man you've chosen in the past was a loser. And so now you're starting to come to that part of your life. You're like, oh, it is kind of attractive to see a man that's ambitious and about something. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, that's how you're supposed to feel, right?
Right.
Like, welcome. It's great that I'm your first. I mean, I don't particularly usually like what that says about their past decision making. That's how I think of it.
No. It makes perfect sense. I've always said that there's more than one way to take a girl's virginity, right? Now, obviously taking her vaginal virginity, that's one thing. But you mentioned something there that I've talked about in the past, and that is, and Andrew Tate actually talked about this when he was on with Pearl and Brittany Renner, is if you are the first guy she experiences something with, that means something to her. Before then, I said, hey, man, look, there's more than one way to take a girl's virginity. If you, and the virginity of the girls that you're taking is that they've never been with someone who really is about their shit that actually matters out here. I've never met a movie maker. I've never met a filmmaker. I've never met anyone like you. That's why I call you the red pill version of you, kind of a mix between, Sylvester Stallone and, maybe Mark Wahlberg. But that's because you have a very unique and extraordinary skill set, and you worked hard at it. But you are honestly about your shit. That's the virginity. And so in your mind, you're thinking, well, of course you're going to be enthralled about what I do and intrigued about what I do because you've never been with a guy that really is about his shit. Kevin, that is so important because because most of the time, I can't tell you how many girls have told me, you're the first guy who has ever raised his voice at me. You're the first guy who has ever yelled at me. You're the first guy who ever told me to get the fuck out of his house or get the fuck out of his car. You're the first guy, this and that and the other. One of my laws of the 49 laws of Sharpe says you will never be her biggest, her best, her first, or her only. That's strictly sexual. That is strictly sexual. I'm not talking about life experiences. Because most girls don't experience guys who are willing to grab their Y chromosome and do and say what needs to be done and said, consequences be damned. And so I think it's important for guys to know and understand that your very aura, your very personality, your fearlessness, not being afraid of women, not being afraid to say, no, we're not doing that, or no, I'm not coming over, or no, I'm not going to give in to this. The very first time you do that, it is going to piss her off. But by the same token, she's going to she might not let you know verbally, hey, you're the first guy who ever, no, but she will if she likes you enough, she will definitely fall in. And even if she didn't like you, if you're the first guy to sort of bare your teeth at her, and there's a 99.9% chance that you probably are, you're going to take that virginity. Wow, you're the only, and she'll characterize it in so many ways. There's just something about you that's different. Don't point it out to her. Don't turn it into a conversation. You just it's so easy, Kevin, to differentiate yourself from most men by simply being a man. Because we know that masculinity is being legislated out of the behavior of Western men. And if you are unapologetically masculine, women will absolutely find that attractive. This is why Andrew Tate blew up, because he was just not afraid to be masculine. He's got fuck you money, he's great shape, he's a fighter, and all this other kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on taking a girl's virginity, being the first person who ever experienced something with her, or the first person who ever raised your voice? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it always draws us back to that point that we like to make to guys about getting on their purpose. Is
there you
that
go.
just by getting on your purpose and just by being about something, and being about something that's meaningful to you, that keeps you busy throughout the week, that you could use to at least begin to build the elements of a life for yourself with. It just that automatically separates yourself from the pack compared to how many losers there are out there. And I'm not only talking about dudes that are actual losers that don't leave their mom's basement, but the guys that just fall in line. They just follow the curve. They just go to their day job. They just have no dreams other than working for somebody else. And actually, when all you have is your day job, not only do you not have dreams, what you do every day is building someone else's dream. It's building somebody else's dream.
Right.
So you're just a component in somebody else's dream. If you think about it, if your dream is to own a company, then you need people to work for you. So when people work for you so you can sleep, those are just aspects of your dream. And so that separates yourself from the pack. Discipline separates yourself from the pack.
There you go.
Being up early every day and being on something immediately every single day, it separates yourself from the pack, because how painful that is for most people to just stick to a damn schedule and just stay disciplined every day. Yeah, it kind of
that will separate yourself.
Of course. Yeah, no, it was it does when you look at how difficult some of the things you do is compared to how it is in the minds of other people. I mean, for Christ's sake, everybody knows that the number one fear in the world statistically is public speaking, something that we're doing right now.
Wow,
and second, statistically, if you never knew that, then check this out. The number one fear statistically, based on surveys, this has stayed the same throughout the decades, is public speaking. Number 2 is death, which means most people would rather die than do what we're doing right now.
Wow.
And well, because look at everything that comes with it, the criticism, the way people take it. But
of course,
we're still able to do it.
Yeah.
Most people would literally rather die than do what we're doing right now.
Yeah, my girlfriend included. She does not like, she does not like being on camera.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. So, I mean, but the main reason I cite this is actually because a lot of girls have told me. But again, in the same token, it's just the way that I think. I don't like to pat myself on the back often. I like to see where things are coming from, and I like to see when a girl says something, I'm actually assessing like what it can tell me about her life and the choices that she's made in her life. If she doesn't tell me personally, I can kind of just read through what she's saying.
There you go.
And a lot of times girls have told me like up front, which told me the kind of woman she was. You're just so different. I say, well, what's different about me? She goes, just, you have this dream, this drive. You're not selling drugs.
Dude, that's attractive.
I'm like, yeah, but I'm just saying to myself, I'm like, oh, I don't sell drugs. I'm like, I just did the bare minimum of something that like you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
I'm like, okay, so that's a metric for her. Okay, excellent. Whereas this, I mean, and whether she was bad or not, I'm just acknowledging that it would be a completely different metric if it was a chick that came from money. If it's a chick that came from money, she's not even looking at the. In most occasions, she's not looking in the direction of a dude that's running around in the streets. He's just like the alpha of the streets, because then there's like an alpha of a more financial environment.
Of course. Yeah, you think of an alpha in the streets. You put him in a boardroom with an alpha of the boardroom, the alpha in the streets is going to look stupid. Also, vice versa. You take the dude from the boardroom, put him in the streets, he's going to look stupid. So I think part of the advice for the in-between guys is put yourself in environments that are advantageous to you. If you're not a hood dude, don't go to the fucking hood. Listen, bro. You can't compete with Pookie and Ray Ray and Traquan and Jaquan Trey. You can't compete with those guys. If you're not a brainiac dude, you're not gonna compete with Tad and Thad and Bartholomew and Field. You're not going to. You got to find your own niche. But what you absolutely have to do is once you find your and again, this is why we call this back to the basics, and this is why this all goes back to AMS. When you find your purpose and you are laser focused and you are locked into that purpose, I am telling you, women find that highly, highly attractive. The proof is right. I've always been a driven guy, but up until actually, I'll be honest with you, up until now, Kevin, I didn't really share my my endeavors with the girls I was dating. It's not like I was keeping it a secret, but it was never, all right, you got to go because I got to get up early tomorrow because I got to go look at this property. No, I'm just like, hey, you got to go. Like, I got to be up early. And I think women, I didn't ever have to be specific about what I was doing. Not that you can't be, but up until really Devin, she is really the only one who knows the inner workings of my business and what I'm trying to accomplish. Even still, that is still attractive to her. And so I guess the first part of the advice, and I think, Kevin, I think you'll agree, is what is the advice for the in-betweeners? If you're not a CEO and you're not a hood nigga, guess what? You got to find your purpose and stick with your purpose, because a man with a purpose, a true purpose that sticks with his purpose, is inherently attractive to women. I'll give you the last word on this, and then we'll move on to fitness.
Oh, I mean, I would say, yeah, know yourself, know your environment, do what you can to improve yourself, and then naturally the women that would naturally be attracted to a man of whatever caliber you are at your intermediate stage are going to reveal themselves.
There you go.
But if you're aiming for the stars, it's a totally different thing. Like if your goal is to be Jay Waller, then that has nothing to and to get the kind of women that he can get, then that has absolutely nothing to do with what game you learn, how you can improve your dress, how you can upgrade your car. If you want nothing but 9s and 10s that come from money, want money, seek men of a certain financial status, then the answer to that is to sacrifice your 20s
That's it.
altogether and build a fucking business for your 30s.
That's it.
That's all that is. There is no trick we can give you other than to try to like teach you how to pretend you're high value, but that's a very, very difficult thing to do, clearly. I mean, there's always been tricks to try to come off, and this is like cheap game that it can work in the right scenario.
Sure.
But like you said, going back to AMS, one of the great switches in AMS's content is when he kind of went from a stage of like, I can teach you those tips and tricks that make you appear high value. And then he switched gears and said, why don't I just actually teach you how to be high value? Because that's not going to sustain itself forever.
And that is the answer to today's question, Kevin. This is interesting. I don't know. I might have said this when I was on with you and your brothers last Saturday. I can't remember exactly, but the answer to the question, what do we tell the in-betweeners, the guys that are new to the red pill? You're in your 20s, hell, you're in your 30s. The young guys who are new to the red pill, late teens, early to mid 20s. How do we survive this world? How can we set ourselves up for success? You got to suffer through your 20s. There's no such thing, Kevin. These days, there's no rite of passage anymore, especially not in American culture. I think the de facto rite of passage in American culture was really American Pie, right? It was basically all about getting laid. Like, these guys were like, they're all walking fucking hard-ons, and as soon as they got laid, yeah, congratulations, you're a man, you're ready for the world. Well, clearly, just because you can get laid does not mean that you're ready for the world. Clearly. But I really do believe that if you find the red pill community, what you will discover about the most successful guys is that they spent their 20s suffering and building themselves up. Here's another point. I didn't do that. I spent my 20s married, getting my heart broken, and making bad decisions. So most guys in their 20s, when they find the red pill, I was the guy in their 20s when I found the red pill at 32 years old. I'm now 45, right? I had to suffer through my 30s, build myself up, money, muscles, game, frame, and now I'm in my 40s. I'm engaged to a woman that I love and respect. My life is going great. I make more and I have more money than I've ever had in my entire life, and things are great. But it did not come without me suffering through my 30s. Don't wait till your 30s like I did. So I think the answer to the question, what do I do? You got to understand, you're not going to have fun in your 20s. In your 20s, gentlemen, you have all of the energy to do everything it is you need to do. You can get up early, you can stay up late, you can survive on 45 minutes sleep, barely. Use the time in your 20s to build up your body, stay in shape. Like, Kevin, you've always been in great shape. You're always going to be in great shape because you've been in great shape pretty much your entire life. That's because you're taking advantage of your 20s. Also, you're extremely driven. You have the energy to be able to work 17, 18-hour days. Use the energy and the wherewithal and the resolve you have in your 20s, and when you get to be 37 years old like Jay Waller, dude, you can be flying to private jets on the way to Dubai going to get your boy out of prison in Romania.
No, that would be lovely. I wonder how many guys actually just put their head down and work and think to themselves, like the kind of woman that I've been chasing, the kind of woman that I've wanted, the kind of woman that I've simped for. I mean, why not put your head down for the rest of your 20s and fantasize about the time where you built a life for yourself where you could just pick and choose the ones you want? I mean, because I can even admit, I like to be as humble and honest as I can be. I do just fine with women. I have no shortage of women. But I still fantasize about the day where it's just 9s and 10s and there's not still like 7s and 8s sprinkled in there.
Of course.
Because I know that I'm not there yet. I mean, and they come here and there. They don't stick, they
don't stick around long.
I'm still at the point in my life where I can't retain a 9 or a 10. They just come here and there, and it's like an occasion.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Yeah, and if I didn't build myself up to where I am, I wouldn't even get the 9 or 10 occasionally. But it's going to be a fucking great day when one of them sticks around for more than a fucking week and a half. And I'm
trying to tell you.
So that's why.
How old are you now? So you're 26, right?
Yeah, I'm 27 in May.
Oh, wow.
But Yeah, but days after, but same shit. Days after turning 27, I'll be starting my second feature film.
There we go. Guys, that's how it's done. That's how it's done, guys. If you are a young guy, and we'll because we're going to round third and head for home here. That's the answer to the question. That's what we're going to keep going back to. So the question was, and it was a very good question by Kevin. A lot of guys, for those of you guys just tuning in, a lot of guys who find the red pill, most guys who find the red pill are not losers, right? Like, how can I put this? Most guys who find the red pill, they're not bums, right? Because if you're a bum, you got bigger fish to fry than, trying to, pick up chicks. But then there are some guys who are, titans of the industry, and, they're 40-something years old. They've got 2 alimonies because they just didn't understand. They just didn't understand women. The point is that the answer to the question, okay, I'm 22 years old and I found the red pill. Now what? You grind. Dude, I don't care what kind of side hustles you have to do. Find something you love to do and use your job, use your full-time job that you hate to finance your purpose. It's going to start off as a hobby at first. But think about it. If you're 22 years old and you think, you know what, I would love to do X, Y, and Z for a living. For the next 8 to 10 years, you could be planting and watering that seed. All through your 20s, stay in the gym, lift weights, watch us. You're gonna and here's another thing. Go out and get your heart broken. Date girls, smash girls if you can, whatever the case may be. But the number one thing you absolutely cannot do, the number one thing, Kevin, that will derail anyone's red pill renaissance is having children. Guys, dude, if you do, you're fucking done. Listen, my guys know my story. I have made every mistake conceivable. I've been arrested 30-something times. I've committed white-collar crimes, blue-collar crimes. I've assaulted people. I've been to jail. I've been to jail. I got arrested for aggravated assault. Looking at prison time. I've made money. I've gone broke. I mean, dude, I've written guys, I've made every civil and criminal mistake known to man. But the reason I am able to sit here right now and say that I am the most content I have ever been in my life is because I do not have children. Guys, make every mistake in the book. Just do not have children. If you don't have children, you give yourself a fighting chance. What are your thoughts on that, Kev?
Yeah, no, definitely don't. And I can honestly say because I almost became a father one time.
Ooh.
And that was such a teachable experience because what it taught me and what's ringing in my head while you're saying this is your internal parental instincts kick on.
Yep.
And even though it's like we didn't go through what happened to the kid, obviously, because
sure.
I maneuvered my way out of that.
Yes, of course.
But at the time that the guy was pregnant, and I'm looking at her thinking, oh shit, she's gonna be the mother of my kid. We're about to have a kid. I'm about to be a father. This is about to be my family. There's instincts in you that just turn on. And I didn't even know those instincts were there. So if you didn't ever almost have a kid or have a kid, there's instincts that you never felt that were you just tap into them.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have no choice in it. Like you're in with the chick, you're in with the kid you're about to have. It derails you in a way that is so instinctual. And yeah, I can't think of anything that's knocked me off my purpose more than that moment in time. It's just because those instincts kick on and I'm like, the hell with my purpose. We about to have a family.
Man,
it's terrible.
This is why, and this is why it's so important, dude, wrap your junk, guys, because here's the thing. The reason why those instincts kicked in because you're a man. You're like, I'm about to have a family. Things got to change. My priorities have to change. But guess what doesn't get done if you have a family? The Adventures of Save-A-Ho, Thought Mommies, the work you're doing with BOA. Maybe the opener never comes to fruition. Your life looks very, very different if she carries that pregnancy to term. The point is, guys, is you really, really, really got to watch it. You can make, and guys, use me as an example. I made all the mistakes, but the one reason I'm able to sit here today is because I did not have children. One of the things that, and we'll end it on this, one of the things that I've had a few girls, dude, girls have told me all kinds of stuff about myself. And 9 times out of 10, I think they're just doing it just to kind of blow my head up and make me think I'm the only one. Girls love to make you think, girls love to try to make you think that you're special to be more attractive. It's worked on me a few times. I'm human. It is what it is. But I'll tell you what, man, one thing, I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 girls told me, and they didn't necessarily use this particular language, but one girl in particular, pardon me, she said, "You're like a civilized barbarian." And I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Well, you're a guy." She's like, "You're clearly intelligent. Like, you know, you're a landlord, real estate, you had a mattress business, all that good stuff. But, like, you've been in trouble with the law. You've got this court date next month because you broke this guy's face and this and that and the third." She says, "You're kind of like a civilized barbarian. You're kind of like she's like, "You're the guy in the suit, but, you know, he's got I forgot how she described it, but civilized barbarian. No, this doesn't mean you go out and commit crimes to be attractive to women, guys. But by the same token, when you reach down and you grab your Y chromosome, that can be almost as attractive, unfortunately, because just like you said, most guys don't do that." What are some small things, Kevin, that you have done or that you have heard of doing that men can do to separate themselves from most men?
I think it all boils down to self-respect.
Okay.
I think obviously, you know, I did this piece on simping on my channel. It's one of my shorts. You can check it out.
Very good, yeah.
And I'll go into further detail about that in other videos and a book that Rack and I started. But, you know, we have a misconception of simping these days, and it comes up all the time because simp is now like a mainstream term, and everybody thinks that simping just means being a gentleman. It means like, did you get your girl flowers? Did you open a door for her? No. And then we laugh at that guy and we call him a simp. No, a simp is truly somebody that's going through like a crisis in their life. Like, they have no value of their own, and they know that they have no value. So everything they do externally to try to prove to a woman that they're about something is to use her to fill a void in their life. Like, it's so
good definition.
Deep. And that can happen through infatuation, but it could also start from a basis of trying to fill a void in your life with a woman, the way you would try to fill it with alcohol or drugs or you name it.
Right.
And simping is so common that there's dudes that just, they don't tell women no ever. They don't. Nope. They return every phone call. They return every text. They'll break appointments. They'll break work endeavors. They'll do whatever they got to do in order to bend over backwards for her. And women have become used to that in a way where they instantly decipher the difference when you just stand your ground. And stand your ground don't mean yelling or screaming or doing wild shit at all. It's just that your purpose comes first. And I tell every girl that I deal with that, like, I'm married to my work. So you're automatically a side bitch to my work. That's right. My first priority in my life is work.
Real
your
shit.
Competition isn't even. Yeah, your competition isn't even another woman. It's my computer.
Woo! Wow, very good. That's profound.
And Rolo, well, because that's what Rolo even told me once. He said that your purpose and your work kind of starts to feel the same to them psychologically as the other woman they need to fight for your time.
I love it. And
it's true, but they love it at the same time. So, you know, oftentimes things women complain about, you know, which guys that are new to the red pill, it's like one of the first discoveries they need to get hip to is that oftentimes things women complain about, you have to more observe how they respond to things as opposed to listening to what they're complaining about, because they'll have you thinking that they're complaining about something that needs to be changed. So you work too much. Okay, now I work less, so I can give a bunch more time to you. And maybe that's what they wanted, but eventually they'll grow to resent you for serving a request that they made.
There you go.
But it's still up to you. It's still up to you to be so locked in on your purpose that you just don't change anything for them. You don't make any alterations for them.
No, you don't.
So just stand in your ground. I've noticed the difference between a girl I'm dealing with who has been with men that stand their ground before and men that don't, because the way some of them reacted when I confidently, simply stood my ground on that these things are not changing.
Nope.
Or you don't act like this around me.
That's right.
Or we don't get down like this. That simple. Based on their reaction, I've kind of been able to gauge which one of them had a father growing up.
Woo!
and which ones have dealt with this before, because some of them go berserk in a way where I'm like, oh my God, no one ever told her no ever.
Yep.
No one ever told her no. No one ever walked away from her, because this kind of outburst is ridiculous. And damn, man, you know, I tell you something that really does say, not to go too far off the rails.
No, you're good.
some concepts are very easy to understand. You'll understand like a girl that like never had a dad. But I tell you, like these concepts are always being reconfirmed to me. And you realize that if a girl never had a father in her life or had a father that was a piece of shit, like she never had any starting basis for what that dynamic of
Yes.
respect is with a man whatsoever.
Absolutely, man.
And her and the way a girl deals with you will reveal those things also. So a lot of yeah, always being the direct answer to the question is just always being observant of
Yes.
how a woman
Pay attention.
moves versus what she has to say. And don't get me wrong, throughout my life, even after becoming red pilled, you start to develop relationships with women and you start to ease back on your red pill
Of
rhetoric.
course.
And you start to ease back a little bit and you start to listen more and you start to take what they say serious a little bit more than you used to.
That's right.
And every time it leads to nonsense.
That's right.
Every single time. Every time you actually say, this is what she said she's thinking. This is what she said she's feeling. So that's probably how she's thinking and feeling.
Oh my
Every time it goes in some direction that ends up making no sense. And I'm like, I have to keep reminding myself. It's not that you tune them out like they're less than people.
Right.
It's just that you take everything with a very decent grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Everything.
One last thing, and Kevin, you mentioned this. A lot of times when you stand your ground or you have to check her or you have to discipline her in some way, she's not going to like it, okay? Not going to like it. Women don't like being told no. Women don't like it when you raise your voice at them. Women don't like it when you check them. Women don't like it when you turn them down for something they want to do. But it's interesting. The less they like something you do, the more they end up respecting you. And again, this doesn't mean you have to act like a fucking maniac or do any crazy stuff. But by simply doing these things, like the first time you ever check a girl or the first time you stand your ground, she's not going to be like, you know what? No guy's ever stood his ground with me like that before. I think I like you. No, she is going to fight, and she's going to go kicking and screaming. She's going to be all over the place. She's going to call you all kinds of names. She might try to give you the silent treatment, whatever the case may be. Guys, this is a shit test. You fail that shit test the very first time you try to stand your ground, she's got you. So just understand that if you're doing something that she doesn't like, chances are it's probably something that will earn her respect down the road. I'll give you the last word before we go off here. Go ahead.
Yeah, 1,000%. I like to try to redefine things that we take for granted.
Okay.
I'll end off on this note because this is a good one. Everybody knows the saying, I don't like it, but I respect it.
Yes.
Like I may not like it, something to the effect of like, you may not like Trump as a person, but you respect what he's built.
That's right.
And we say things over and over until the value of the saying decreases. That's not just interesting terminology. Is that you literally can hate somebody.
Yes.
You can hate somebody, but respect what they've built because you could never do the same. And the older I get, the more I find individuals that I'm like, I really feel that way about them. Like maybe I don't like them, but like I cannot say I don't respect it.
That's right.
Because respect is different than liking something.
That's exactly
right.
Respect
is inherently different than loving or liking something. And terms get diminished until people think that like, no, everything I respect is something that I'm enthralled about.
Right.
Now, a lot of times you can respect something that you hate. But so that's the clear difference there is a line of respect between you and your woman and a line of, what she likes or what she enjoys. But what she respects is much more important.
I'll tell you what, there's a thin line between love and hate. I think we all know that. And so, yeah, women might hate you, but she'll respect you, which means she'll eventually love you. There are going to be days where your woman truly does hate you. But if a woman hates you, she absolutely still loves you. Last thing I'll mention here is, and this is one of the great dichotomies of male and female nature. A man can love a woman he does not respect. We don't have to respect women to love them. We just don't. We don't. But a woman cannot love a man unless she respects him. It cannot be done. It can't be done. Savo, man, this was a great maiden voyage. Tell the people where they can find you.
Red Pill Lions channel, that's linked in the title. That's where the Savo brothers do most of their work. I have a sitcom called The Adventures of Savaho, and I have a music video called Thought Mommies by the Fellas. We usually go live on Saturday nights on the Red Pill Lions channel. Subscribe and ring the bell so you can get notifications for that. We're not going to be going live tonight because I'm a little backed up on work. But next Saturday night, we're probably going to be live with some girls. We're actually going to dissect a book that's really interesting. We got our hands on like one of the original books that taught female manipulation, like written by a woman for women to teach other women how to manipulate men.
Is it called Damn, How to Destroy a Man's Career Now?
I forget what it's called. It's called Why Men Love Bitches.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus! Yes.
You ever heard that one?
Yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes. Yes.
Heard of that one?
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
We're gonna bring some girls through, and we're gonna go over some of the talking points in that book. That's gonna be next Saturday. Just actually, my brother's girlfriend just she goes to college, and her friends like tossed it to her, and she tossed it to Rock, and she was like, yeah, this is where a lot of this rhetoric comes from.
Girl.
So she was like. And she was showing him. She was like, just like you guys have like your red pill rhetoric, it's kind of to combat this rhetoric for women that came along earlier.
Yes.
And we were looking through it. And there is some fucked up shit in this book. It's like
Why
do's and don'ts. And I'll give you like just a
go ahead.
A little brief one that made.
I might actually buy and read this one now.
About this. It was like literally teaching women, like, and it's such a popular book. It's like the AMS for women. It's this like underground thing. It's not wildly like
but the difference is they don't get what they want in the long run. They get all the spoils in the beginning, but it ends up leaving women empty.
Yeah, it doesn't really do much for them, but they just they love it. It's basically just a book on teaching manipulation, and well, I'm sure it works on Sims. Let's put it like that.
Yes, of course.
But yeah, there was like one that's like how to handle an argument. Change the conversation, cry, or bring up somebody that you both know and say that this person agrees with me and disagrees with you. So it's like teaching like how to like fuck up a man in an argument and make him think he's wrong. And then there were things like based on his level of value and status, will determine what you cook for him. So unless he makes a certain amount of money, don't make him anything that doesn't come out of the microwave. Like crazy shit.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into that.
Okay.
That'll be next Saturday.
Okay.
We'll have some girls through, and we'll get to the bottom of that, man, because like the guys, we got AMS and Donovan, we got all that, and that's something that the girls have had for the longest time. I think the book's a couple of years old too.
It's gonna be awesome.
We'll go through some of those points with girls and see what they think.
Terrell Thinks with the $5 super chat says, thank you. Shout out to you guys. Looking forward to our interview, Kevin. I guess you know this guy, huh?
Who's that?
Terrell Thinks.
Yeah.
Terrell Thinks, yeah.
Yeah, he booked me for an interview. Yeah, we'll be speaking soon, brother.
Cool. Perfect. Guys, that is going to do it for the very first edition of Back to the Basics. We will see you guys next Saturday. Take care.